don't know if some of your viewers have reacted in both of your spheres, those who don't cook, Samin, and talking to you about this, or Wendy, those who draw on it, just the kind of emotional reactions beyond the, am I any good at this?
I don't know that I've gotten any direct feedback about that, but I have been watching people try on Instagram, like they all tag me in their images. And that's been really amazing. There's a lot of like, am I doing this right, Mom? And so, and there are people who've never made anything before, never cooked one thing before, who are trying now because they have to. And that just gives me a lot of joy to watch. I think the thing about I don't know what's different about cooking. There's so much, but I guess with cooking, like, you have to eat it. So maybe the stakes are a little different. I don't really know.
What you just said to me made me think about, the process of cooking and then you eat it, right? And when we think about how it's analogous to drawing in a way, and when we think about a drawing, we think about the end result. We're trained to think about this finished picture. Is it good or is it bad? And that's all we think about. In cooking, we think about the process of cooking, the joy of making something, and then there's the delicious experience at the end. And I would argue that drawing is the same thing. And Neal, maybe this is one of the reasons why it was so emotional to you, is that for those of us, especially who can maybe be overachievers, perfectionist type 8, I don't know if you know anybody, the three of us who are like that, I don't know, but maybe. We might focus a lot on the end result and where we're going and constantly be moving towards that. But what drawing does, maybe like cooking, Samin, it brings us into the present. It brings us into our bodies and it quiets our minds. And it's about the process. And it creates space inside. Mm-hmm. And I think that can be a really powerful emotional experience. And especially for those of us who are living in a very busy, constantly churning world, to create that space is like not only a rarity, but I think it might be a necessity. And not enough of us have that space in our lives. So maybe some of us might be learning how to do that now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so beautiful, Wendy. I mean, one of the questions I had for Samin was that, because cooking for a lot of people isn't this joy and release and learning about process. It's stressful. They just, trying to feed their kids or themselves or their loved ones or their roommates or so on. And, I was wondering, Samin, how do you talk about and encourage people to get the joy back into something which they have to do? They have to.
It's intense. I mean, I've been feeling that myself, and I live by myself. So I feel like all I do is fill and empty the dishwasher. And luckily I have a dishwasher. I didn't used to have one until a year ago, but I'm just like I'm like cleaning, washing dishes, like emptying the fridge, refilling the fridge, I'm like, this never ends. And I don't even have kids to take care of. I don't have a person, I don't have a partner driving me crazy who I'm threatening to divorce under the roof. I am just here doing it by myself. And I think a lot about what this would be like for people who don't have the skills or have a million other people and things pulling on their attention. And that's real. And I think to deny that cooking is work is a mistake, and it's certainly it's misogynistic for all of the women who are doing it. Even today, I was cleaning my cast iron pan, which I left dirty, as I sometimes do, and it kind of was sitting there for a couple days dirty, and I had to really force myself to take yesterday off and not do any cooking work or computer work or writing work. And I kind of came in the kitchen and started doing it, and I was beating myself up in my head. I was like, man, if I were better, I would have done this yesterday. I would have cleaned the cast iron pan and the kitchen yesterday. And then I was like, oh, wait, it's not just about cleaning. This is actual work that I need to, acknowledge. And it's cleaning the cast iron pan as being a good human, but also all of these things right now are labor. And so to not pay attention to that is a real mistake, especially for all the people who provide us with the meals and the clean dishes in our homes. And there isn't always joy in it. And sometimes it is just work. And that's what's kind of tough. So I think to me, like the pleasure comes from making something often for somebody else that I know they will really enjoy, so that is a way to sort of reconnect to something nice, some part of niceness, or trying to do something new or challenging myself to make something that I haven't made in a long time. But it's not just pure fun, it's work too. And I think to ignore that would be a mistake.
I just want to ask both of you, what do you got projects-wise keeping you busy in the future? What are you thinking of doing in the next few months? Wendy, what are you up to?
What?
What do you
Here's the thing. That expression isn't entirely joking. I feel like we are in this bracketed time, and maybe some creative people, some people have been able to carry themselves through consistently, or maybe just tune it down 10%. No, that's not been my experience. I feel like I am, and in our home, we're in a really different space right now. And when it started, we just thought here's the situation, here's the time, here are resources, and what's the best thing we can do. And that's what we're going to keep doing until it's done. And then at that point, we'll reassess, So
one thing you are doing, Wendy, you're raising money for people who don't have art supplies, right? Isn't that one of your projects that you're doing that? And how do we get involved in that? People who are listening.
Love that you asked that, Neal Katyal. Thank you. Like I said before, we found that a lot of people not only don't have internet access, but they don't have basic art supplies. And art supplies are emergency relief services for kids, all people, but especially kids right now. And so we started a GoFundMe, and for $20, you can buy a Draw Together art kit, and it comes with paints and pencils and paper and all the stuff a kid would need to draw, plus an activity sheet, so they don't have to have internet access to actually get the benefit of the classes. So $20, you can basically sponsor a kid and a family, and just go to GoFundMe and look up Wendy MacNaughton or Draw Together, and you'll find it. And thank you.
Awesome. We'll post the link to that as well. And Samin, with you, you always have a million projects going on. Hopefully you're taking
more lasagna.
We're going to linguine next. Okay. So,
no, she's like, no L's.
I will say the grandness of the scope of the world's problems really helps me get clear on the smallness of my own problems on a daily basis, which is nice. But I don't have a ton. I am really excited. I will say doing this project has sort of reinvigorated me. I was pretty depressed and sort of just exhausted before this. So I'm ready. I'm going to go back and start doing my column again at the New York Times Magazine, which I'm really excited about. And I feel like the one thing, and this goes back to creativity and constraints and how to be creative in this time. One thing that I really miss, so many of us miss, is figuring out ways to be together and interact together. And so that was definitely the impetus behind the lasagna thing, was I miss dinner parties. I miss being a host and a guest and sitting at a table with people and eating the same food. So why don't we use these tools, however imperfect they are, to gather together online and do it? So I think trying to figure out how do we use the tools that we have to do the things that we miss is kind of a fun thing I'm trying to sort of process in my head. And so the other day I was talking to our friends, Wendy and I, our good friends, started a project called Pop-Up Magazine. And so I was talking to them and I was like, how can we use the things we do have? How can we use the internet and the USPS and, I don't know, phones or whatever to figure out how we can do projects together? Oh, Fava's really excited about that. So I don't know. I'm just sort of processing things in the back of my mind.
Well, thank you both. I mean, you all are just the loveliest of people and are so accomplished in what you're doing for the American public right now at a time when we need all the inspiration and creativity and love and joy and teaching, and you're providing all that. So thank you so much, both of you.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you, Neal. Thanks
we
for
love you so much, Neal, or at least I do. No. I love both of you guys.
This is really fun. Thank you.
Super
Okay.
awesome.